Hey, back off, man! I got a plum cake and I know how to use it! Hi, it's Prison Ryan from Knights Around a Table. Here's how you play Fled. You and your friends play the newest unlucky inmates of Spike Island Prison, a real-life lockup that housed, among other people, hungry young Irishmen during the potato famine whose only transgression was teeth and tubers. Unjust incarceration demands one response. It's time to blow this pop stand. Your goal is to escape the prison by fleeing into the forest, but you can only do so after collecting the right tools, which you can only get by trading in contraband, which you can collect by running around the prison. But be careful, if any of the warders catch you where you shouldn't be, they'll slap a shackle on you, and you may even end up in solitary confinement. Thankfully, one of the staff members is a chaplain who may help you escape, as long as you pay him in combs. The game ends when either all the tiles run out or when someone makes it over the wall. Either one or more players will escape or no one escapes and everyone gets consigned to hard labor in the prison. Either way, whichever player winds up with the most valuable collection of tiles in their inventory wins the game. You start the game by hitching your bunk tile up to the starting yard in the middle of the table. You have a handful of 5 prison tiles. The prison warden is over here. In Victorian times, he was called the governor. Hello, governor. There's a row of roll call tiles next to him. Depending on where the whistle is, these tiles will determine which areas of the prison are safe to be in if the warders catch you. On your turn, you do 3 things. Add a tile to the prison, spend 2 tiles to take various actions, and then refill your hand back up to 5 tiles. Let's tackle those 3 things one by one. Expanding the prison. You start your turn adding a tile to build out the prison. This is a mandatory action. You can't skip it. If one or more of the tiles in your hand have a gold scroll on them, you have to place one of those instead of any other tile in your hand. When you place a tile, one end of it has to match one of the squares it's touching. So a yard needs to touch a yard, a mess hall needs to touch a mess hall, and so on. The other end of the tile doesn't have to match anything in particular. It can even dangle. 6 spaces out from the start tile, you have to imagine the prison is surrounded by a forest. So if you have a forest tile to place, the forest part of it has to go somewhere in that outer perimeter donut. The forest can't go anywhere else. And conversely, no square that isn't a forest is allowed along that forested ring. And it should go without saying, but nothing can extend beyond the donut. The edges of the tiles might have a door or a window on them. A door can meet a door, and a window can meet a window. But you're not allowed to hook a door up to a window. Hey, you make a better door than a window. But these open archways are special. You can hook them up to either a door or a window. If you place a tile with a little hat and a moon symbol on it, that means you have to place a warder on that tile. It has to be one of the normal guys, not the chaplain. The moon symbol reminds you that you have to flip over the governor tile that has the open window showing the moon to close the window, and then flip over the tile to the left of it to open the window and expose the moon. Moonlight provides better visibility to naughty prisoners who are trying to escape, as we'll see shortly. If you place the tile with the cross in the moon, that's the one that gets the chaplain figure on it. If you're absolutely unable to play a tile from your hand without following these placement rules, you pick a tile and add it to the right of the governor tile. That's the governor's inventory, and we'll see what that's all about later. Playing tiles. Once you've played one of your tiles to build out the prison, you have to spend 2 more tiles out of your hand doing other things. Once again, this step is not optional. You gotta spend 2 tiles. What can you do with your tiles? Well, for one thing, you can discard them to move your meeple around the prison. Many tiles have tools on them, either inside a purple scroll or a gold scroll. Different tools help you move from one room of the prison to the next. Discard a tile with a key on it to move your character through a door. Discard a file to saw the bars and climb through a window. Spend a shoe to walk through a pair of adjoining archways. If an archway faces a window, well, you can't use a shoe. You need to spend a file to saw through it. Likewise, if an archway connects to a door, a shoe won't do. You need a key to get through. If you discard a spoon, you can tunnel from any room with a hole in it to any other room with a hole in it, up to 3 rooms away. If the tool you discard was on a gold scroll, that means it's fancy. It gives you double the benefit. So a single gold key can get you through 2 doors, or 2 doors abutting archways, or a mixture of both. A gold file gets you through 2 windows, or 2 windows abutting archways, or a mixture of both. A gold shoe vaults you through 2 sets of open archways. Double spoons let you tunnel up to 6 rooms away instead of up to 3. They're also great for performing music at a flea market. And finally, playing the whistle lets you move one of the warders around the prison to catch other players, or to rendezvous with the helpful chaplain. Moving warders. When you discard a tile with the whistle on it, you have to move one of the warders 0 to 3 rooms away. You're generally trying to get the guard to a room with one of your opponents in it to catch them where they're not supposed to be. The room can't be one that's on the roll call tile with the whistle on it. Those rooms are safe from the guard's scrutiny, and they can't punish anyone they catch there. So this player is in one of the bunks, and the whistle's on a tile that says everyone's supposed to be in a bunk room. It doesn't have to be their own. So this warder can't punish this player. If you're able to play a whistle tile and make a warder catch someone where they're not supposed to be, you draw one of the tiles from that player's hand at random and flip it face down next to their player tile to shackle them. That skull scroll is now worth -1 point at the end of the game. If the player you catch is already shackled, you bounce their meeple back to their bunk instead. And if the solitary confinement tile is in play, then instead of returning an already shackled player to their room, you put them in the hole. That player has to waste their next turn by moving from solitary to their bunk. Either way, as a small concession, that player loses their shackle and the tile gets placed here in the governor's inventory. By the way, if you happen to blunder into this room while you're gallivanting around the jail, you don't fall in the hole or anything. You just skirt the side of it and maybe laugh at whoever's in there. And if a guard catches a shackled player and there's already someone in solitary confinement, that player gets stuck in solitary confinement too. Ah yes, the increasingly inaccurately named solitary confinement. If you play a whistle to summon the chaplain, you can move him 0 to 3 spaces into a room with a player in it, usually you, and he'll release you from your shackles, probably while talking your ear off about religion. So then the wee girl's head starts spinning around and she starts tossing her cookies, faith and begorra. Once again, that shackle tile gets flipped over and added to the governor's inventory. The mean warders and the chaplain can move from room to room via archways and doorways, but they're not allowed to crawl through windows and tunnels. They get their uniforms dirty. Whenever you move a warder or the chaplain by discarding a whistle, you finish that action by moving the little whistle charm to the left. This means that the warders now expect you prisoners to be in a different set of rooms as they patrol the prison, and if they catch you wandering around anywhere else, well, you're in trouble. If it reaches the end, it loops back to the governor's tile. And when you move the whistle, if you want to, you can even blow it. Escaping. If you're in a room next to the forest, you can try to make a break for it by climbing over or tunneling under the wall. To do this, you need to spend the tools depicted on the left side of this folded parchment out of your inventory. So here, you need to cash in 2 spoons from your inventory to reach the forest and escape Spike Island. You could either spend 2 purple spoons or 1 golden spoon, which counts as 2 spoons, to get out. What's your inventory? Well, we haven't talked about it yet, but until we do, just use your imagination. If the whistle is on the same tile as the open window with the moon when you try to escape, well, you're in luck. You only have to pay the single tool cost on the right side of the parchment to get out of here. Now you just need to make the 2-kilometer swim through freezing cold ocean water to reach the shore. Well, let's save that for a future expansion. Cashing in 1 or more tools to escape the prison is a free action you can take at any time on your turn. If one player escapes, that triggers the end of the game. The escapee's turn ends immediately, and they flip over this tile, where it's worth some lovely points. All other players get 1 final shot at breaking free, even if there are no more tiles left in the draw pile, which would end the game under normal circumstances. Escaping from Spike Island gets you a solid 5 points, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you the win. Inventory. So, discarding a tile to use a tool on it is one of the ways you can use 2 tiles in the second part of your turn. Another way is to put a tile into your inventory. You have 3 slots next to your player tile that make up your inventory. You want to get tools into your inventory because then you can discard those tools to climb the wall and escape the prison. But in order to get tools into your inventory, you have to spend tiles with contraband on them out of your inventory. So that means you have to get contraband into your inventory first. Well, here's how to do that. If you're in a room that matches one of the 2 rooms printed on the governor tile that currently has the whistle on it, you can play a matching contraband tile from your hand to your inventory. So if you were in a washroom and the whistle was on this tile with a washroom on it, you could play this contraband tile out of your hand to your inventory. Now you have an illicit comb that you can shank someone with. If you're in a bunk and the whistle's on a tile featuring the bunk, you can put this contraband tile in your inventory to carry around some stamps. Some stamps you can shank someone with. It's the same deal with the yard and the mess hall. Get to those rooms at the same time the whistle is on the proper tile, and you can play either some buttons to your inventory or a plum cake. A plum cake you can shank someone with. If shanking's not really your style, though I do recommend it because you are in prison and when else are you going to get an opportunity like this, then you can trade in your contraband to play a valuable tool to your inventory. To do that, you have to infiltrate either a warder's office or find yourself in the same room as the chaplain. Once you're there, you can trade in contraband from your inventory. It has to be in your inventory, it can't be in your hand, to swap them out for tools from your hand. The exchange rate is listed here on your reference tile. If you want to put a tool with a purple banner in your inventory, you have to cough up 1 contraband item from your inventory. If you want a gold scroll tool in your inventory, that's going to cost you 2 contraband tiles. It'll also cost you 2 contraband tiles to get a shamrock into your inventory. Shamrocks are great because they count as a wild single-use tool. So a shamrock can stand in for a single spoon or a shoe or a file, etc. Shamrocks also increase your inventory size. If you have at least 1 shamrock in your inventory, you're allowed to hold on to 4 inventory items instead of only 3. Multiple shamrocks don't increase the number of slots you get though. If you have 3 shamrocks, you still only get a total of 4 inventory slots. That's the limit. The tiles you cash in go to the discard pile next to the draw piles. One more thing you can do with the tile on that second step of your turn is to just surrender it to the governor to put it into his inventory. That might be a good move if you don't want to use the tile now, but you maybe want to use it later. When you draw back up to 5 tiles at the end of any turn, you can grab at most 1 tile from the governor's inventory. The trouble is, any player can pick up a tile from the governor's inventory. So the tile you play there may not still be there by the time play comes back around to you. End of your turn, end of the game. At the end of your turn, you draw back up to 5 tiles in your hand. Like I mentioned, you can grab a maximum of 1 of those tiles from the governor's inventory if you so choose. If you run out of tiles in the draw piles, shuffle the discards to form a new draw pile. If all the tiles have run out such that a player can't replenish their hand to 5 tiles, the game ends immediately, and all players are consigned to hard labor breaking rocks in the prison quarry. But you still get to count up the scores to see who's won. As we saw earlier, the game can also end if 1 player escapes the prison. All other players get 1 final kick at the can, and then you look at the final scores. To score the game, take a look at the tiles you have in your inventory. It's just your inventory. The tiles you have left in your hand don't count. The scoring key is on the start tile. Every piece of teal contraband you collected gets you a point. Purple tools in your inventory get you 2 points. Shamrocks are worth 3, and gold scroll tiles are worth 4 points each. If you manage to escape and flip your tile exposing the white scroll on the back, that's good for 5 points. If you're still shackled with a leg iron by the end of the game, you lose 1 point. Count up the points to see who's won. In the case of a tie, the player who has the single most valuable scroll wins the game. If there's still a tie, then all tied players share in the victory. Or, you know, you're prison convicts. Figure it out. The Specter. The first expansion for Fled is a little thing called the Specter, which comes with a few extra tiles and this adorably terrifying little ghost figure. You can play the Specter either solo or multiplayer. Here's how solo mode goes. You get a ghost reference tile to put next to your regular reference tile. Knock out the chaplain tile and figure and replace them with the ghost tile and figure. I guess thematically the chaplain died and came back to haunt the prison as a ghost? Somebody must have shanked him with a plum cake. You play the game as usual, but at the end of each of your turns, the Specter gets a turn. You have to turn over 3 tiles and choose one to add to the prison. If any of the tiles have a gold scroll, you have to place that tile. If multiple tiles have gold scrolls, you have to pick one of those and place it. If at least one tile has a whistle or a shamrock, you have to set one of them aside. So for example, if you flipped over 2 chamois and a whistle, you have to pick out one of those tiles and you're not allowed to place it. If the tile has you adding a warder or the ghost to the prison, you have to place the tile and figure so that it puts you in the most peril possible. If you can't place any of the tiles you turn up, just choose one of them to put in the governor's inventory. Now, if you'd set aside a shamrock or a whistle, the whistle gets blown. I'll show you what happens with that in a sec. Otherwise, toss one of the 2 remaining tiles in the discard pile. Finally, add the last remaining tile to the governor's inventory. Whenever you or the Spectre blow the whistle, you have to choose the guard that's most threatening to you and move him up to 3 rooms, as usual, orthogonally through doors or archways. You also have to move the Spectre 1 space, and the ghost don't care about doors or archways. The ghost goes through walls. The ghost goes anywhere it wants. After that, whether you blew the whistle or the ghost did, you have to move the whistle to the next roll call tile. If the whistle ever loops back to the governor tile before you manage to escape, you lose the game. Likewise, if the draw tiles run out, or if the ghost catches you, you lose the game. And he shanks you with a plum cake. Tally up your score as usual and consult the rulebook to find out if it thinks you're a good person or not. If you play multiplayer Spectre, you add the ghost and its tile to the game, but the chaplain and his tile stay in. If anyone activates a whistle, they can move a warder of their choice or the chaplain as usual, but they also get to move the ghost. If the ghost catches a prisoner, that prisoner gets bounced back to their bunk. The ghost doesn't add shackles to anyone, but just for kicks, he does shank them with a plum cake. Setup. To set up the game, shuffle the tiles into a few draw piles. In a 2-player game, weed out all the tiles with a 3+ symbol on them. Everyone picks a color and takes a prisoner tile, a reference tile, and a prisoner meeple. The first player is whoever was most recently shanked with a plum cake. Put the start tile in the middle of the table. This tile gets the first warder. In turn order, place your bunk tile so that the darker gray corridor half of it touches at least 1 square of the start tile orthogonally, and then plunk your junk in your bunk. The rest of the players follow suit. Lay down the governor tile and then shuffle up the roll call tiles and lay them out to his left. Flip the tile immediately next to the governor to pull a moon. Give the whistle to the governor. Everyone should draw a starting hand of 5 tiles. And now, you're ready to play Fled.
Did you just watch that whole thing? Oh, hey, to 100% this video, click the badge to subscribe and then click the bell to get notifications when I've got new stuff.